Today, I want to talk about surface and substance. And what I mean by that is that we often, and when I say we, I mean Christians, we often focus on surface and not on substance, or not on deep things, but only on the things that we can see or outwardly experience. And I will give you some examples here. I ran into some videos online by a man named, I think it's Richard Triss. And he was a Native American Indian and a Christian. And his whole goal was to incorporate their traditions, their style of worship, their style of dress into their Christian worship. And he shared a story about his grandparents. His grandparents were taken in by a Christian school, kind of like a missions school on or near the reservation, the Indian reservation. And the requirements for this school, this Christian school, were that first, they could not speak their language, their native language, no more. They could not practice any of their native culture. They couldn't dress in their native clothes. They couldn't sing their native songs. They couldn't have long hair. They had to cut their hair. They had to dress in button-up shirts and dresses. They had to learn what these people considered Christian hymns, participate in Christian services in English only, and this created bitterness instead of creating the hope and the joy. It created bitterness because it was only focused on the outside. It wasn't focused on what was happening inside. And this got me really thinking. It got me really thinking about what we call Christian and why. Because we see something like this and we say, okay, that's Christian. The man is dressed in a suit, tie. The woman has a dress. The child has a dress. They're holding the hymn book. They're singing the hymns of the faith. This is Christian. And at the same time, we see something like this and we say, this is not. This is pagan. And it really started making me think, why? Why is one called Christian and this one pagan? When they are both equally different from first century Christian worship. This and this are nothing like this first century Christian worship. Are they in a big building on Sunday? No, they're in somebody's house, gathered around the table, sharing a meal. Are they singing hymns of the faith? No, they're sharing their experiences, their daily life, their trials and their triumphs with each other. Are they dressed up? No, they're just dressed in their day-to-day clothes. This bears no resemblance to this. Just like this bears no resemblance to this. So they're all different. Can they all be Christian? I would say absolutely yes. Because when these early Christians, like pictured here, when they went out into the world, they didn't put surface rules on those they came in contact with. Let's use an example. Let's say, okay, so early Christians, Jewish, first century Jewish people would have dressed something like this. We see lots of robes, very plain, very simple, white and brown, yellowish, white, brown colors, all very, very simple. Men usually bearded. This was normal. So those people like Peter and Paul and all of those disciples that went out into the world, this is how they would have been dressed. As opposed to, for example, the Romans. Romans, nowadays, when we would look at something like this, we would say, okay, they're both wearing robes. They're all wearing robes. This is all old clothing. It's all the same. But if you notice, these robes are much more decorative, brighter colors, more style, different hair. Not every man was bearded. There was, of course, throughout history, beards were common for men. But not every man was bearded, and their hair was different. And, they had bright clothing because they were wealthier, and they were in the center of the world, of the modern world of the time. So they looked very different. But do you see the letter to the Romans focusing on you should dress like us. You should have plain clothes, only browns, shades of brown and white. And everybody should have a beard. You shouldn't have your hair in that way. Is that the focus? You shouldn't speak your language. You should speak Hebrew or Aramaic. Was that the focus of the letters? No. It's the focus of the letters is internal issues, not surface issues, not the external issues. So we, as Christians, often focus on these things. For example, expressions. There's so many expressions in the English language that Christians tend to focus on. For example, good luck. When someone says good luck, Christians will say, oh, we can't say luck. We don't believe in luck. We don't believe in superstition. It's an expression. Just because you say good luck doesn't mean you are superstitious, doesn't mean you believe in luck. It's just an expression that says, I hope everything goes well for you. Cross your fingers. Another expression, similar. Just because you say cross your fingers that everything will go well. That doesn't mean you believe in superstition. That just means that you know the language. That's your language, and that's a part of your language, and a part of your way of speaking. It's just an expression. But we tend to focus on these things. I'm not sure why. To be honest, I'm not sure why we tend to focus on the external more than the internal. To say you have to dress a certain way to go to church. You have to sing certain types of songs to be a Christian. You have to say certain things or not say certain things in order to be a Christian. You have to celebrate certain holidays or not celebrate certain holidays to be a Christian. This is all surface, and these are the things that don't matter. When you look at the letters in the New Testament, you see the things that really matter. There's some talk about, dressing appropriately, but most of the problems were real. The writers were addressing real, deep issues, real, deep problems. Not silly words or silly expressions or silly holidays or pronunciations. No, that's not what they were addressing. And so I think we need to learn from that and steer clear of that. Every culture has their way of expressing themselves, and to force that culture to try to express themselves the way we do makes no sense, because they're miserable. That makes them miserable, and it makes them not stay in the faith. Just like that Richard Trist talked about. He said, every year we get big mission trips into the Indian reservation, and all of these people come forward and they give their life to God, and then, within a month, they're all gone. They don't stay with it because the requirements are that they not speak their language, they dress a certain way, they not have long hair, they don't do anything that makes them who they are. And this goes for, every place. South America, Africa, Asia, the Middle East, everywhere it's the same. You believe, in order for you to believe, you have to do X, Y, Z, and they're all nonsense. They're all external, surface issues instead of internal. Work on the inside and let that reflect to the outside. If that reflects in the form of singing hymns, dressing in a suit at church, then fine. If that forms in dancing around a fire with feathers, that's fine. If that forms in the way of sitting around a table, sharing a meal, and sharing your trials and your struggles and your triumphs with each other, then that's fine. It isn't the outward that matters. It's the inside. If the inside is changed, then what is expressed on the outside will change to reflect that inside. But it will change in a way that reflects that person or that group. Not you, not your group, but that person and that group. It will reflect in their way, but still honestly Christian, still honestly godly, but not how you do it. Because everything isn't the same for everyone. Those early Christians who dressed in white and brown and all had beards didn't insist to the Romans that they do the same. Those early Christians who spoke Hebrew and some Aramaic didn't insist that the Romans stop speaking their language and instead speak Hebrew and Aramaic. And those early Christians who sang their traditional Jewish songs didn't go to Rome and insist that the Romans sing their songs, their traditional songs. So why do we? It's something to think about. That I think we need to refocus. Focus on the inside and let the outside take care of itself, because it will. God will express himself through their belief in their way. not in our way. So it was something that I thought was interesting, and I wanted to share and kind of talk about it. So I hope you found this interesting, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye.